The views expressed in this podcast are my own and those of my guests. They do not represent or reflect those of UCSF Health or my professional and clinical roles there. The content is intended for informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Please consult a qualified healthcare professional for specific medical guidance. In today's episode, I'm joined by Alicia Heilner, fitness coach and the founder of the Fit Breakthrough. Alicia hails from sunny Southern California and leads her team of two other coaches, Coach Evelyn and Coach Laura, who provide one-on-one coaching to women and some men, affecting change in body composition, mindset, and their lives. I'm included. I had the pleasure of meeting Alicia after my cousin Jenny, who's a busy nurse, worked with the Fit Breakthrough for 3 months, and she had incredible results. As you'll hear in this episode, being a healthcare provider myself, I felt like I knew what I needed to do, but I could never see the results I was so desperately trying to obtain. My fitness journey was simplified with results I could not only see, but feel after working with Alicia and Coach Evelyn. Alicia and I discuss why a strength and nutrition coach can be helpful and how to look for a team that can help you with your individual goals. Alicia, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
I met you through my cousin Jenny, who had signed up with the Fit Breakthrough for strength and nutrition coaching. Can you tell me a little bit about the Fit Breakthrough and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy that you guys both were able to join. So the Fit Breakthrough is made up of 3 coaches on the team, myself, Coach Evelyn, and Coach Laura. And we specialize in full one-on-one coaching. So one-on-one nutrition, training, mindset, really just allowing women who, a lot of them honestly come from a background of yo-yo dieting or just kind of trying to figure out how to get sustainable progress on their fitness journey and really take them through a transformation that allows them to not only make progress during their time with us, but step away feeling much more knowledgeable with their nutrition, their training, and overall looking and feeling their best. So it's what we do here. I love what I do. And yeah.
Can I just say I love what you do too? Because I benefited greatly from it. How did you get started with this?
Back in the day, like 2011 through 14, that was when I had my identity crisis after year-round volleyball. I kind of, quit that. And then I'm moving into just full-time student life. I felt like I gained the freshman 15. And I understood at a high level, like, okay, eat protein, eat fruits, eat vegetables, move your body. I felt like I was already doing all of those things, but you get fed all of this propaganda from online of different diets you should do. And, this is going to help XYZ and detox your body. And there's just so many buzzwords. And I think, it wasn't the 90s, but you still have a lot of that diet culture even to this day. And so I think I was very impressionable. I was very much like, I just need a plan and I'll be able to follow it. And I couldn't really grasp how in the long term that wasn't going to serve me. And it was really difficult to kind of feel like I was doing everything right and not seeing progress, and everybody online was saying something that contradicted each other. And so I actually got my first coach back in 2000, this would be 15, and she just changed the game for me. One-on-one coaching is not like it is today. It was very much just like one sentence emails back and forth. But even that, and even learning about macros and what's in food and the benefits of weight training instead of just focusing on only running, which there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I am all about moving your body in a way that is enjoyable and feels good for you, but really understanding the benefits of strength training and how that was going to not only benefit my body composition goals, but also my mental health and just my ability to step away from the constant yo-yo dieting. That was really a breakthrough for me. And so from there,
a breakthrough for you.
Yes, exactly. Hence the name. But yeah, and then from there, I just continue to fall in love with not only the just having a coach myself and seeing my physical transformation, but really understanding the why, because if I'm going to do something, I need to know why I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I need to have kind of that backing of, hey, here's how it's benefiting you and your physique, because it is a long-term game. At the end of the day, you have to have long-term goals. And so that's kind of how the education component kind of came in. And then, 2019, 2020, I started coaching people who asked, and then here we are today.
That's amazing. Yeah. When I found you, I had done a lot of different things over the course of my lifespan. Like I had run before, not my favorite thing. I'm actually enjoying it now a little bit more, but I had done the Whole30. I had done Weight Watchers. I had done paleo. I had done all these like diets, just like you said, like buzzwords and things that you see online. And while some of those things are really great and you learn a lot from them, I struggled with the fact that I'm a healthcare provider and I could go with what the guidelines suggested and, just eat a heart healthy diet. That's what I tell my patients. But what is a heart healthy diet? And how do you balance that? And so here I am before I started with you guys. And I'm like, I should know what to do. I'm going to give myself a month and I'm going to do everything that I think I know what to do and see if anything budges. And nothing changed. I was working out every single day. I was starving myself. And then I see Jenny's pictures of her progress that she'd done after 3 months. And I was like, all right, something's got to change. I need to talk to Alicia. So I actually want to walk everybody through like what getting a coach is. And then we can keep talking about like the different things I learned along the way, because like I said before, or I'm going to say, is that I have patients that ask me all the time, well, how do I lose weight? And then everybody wants to run to like the Mounjaro and the Wegovy and those medications are great tools to help you, especially if you have a lot of weight to lose. But at the end of the day, when you stop taking those medications and you haven't changed the foundation, I fear that patients will just gain the weight right back and they'll be in the same situation that they were before. So it takes this whole, and actually, I could be the poster girl for Fit Breakthrough as far as like the mindset change, like just because it really is about being consistent over time and really knowing what you're doing, what your goals are, and allowing yourself space to maybe not always be like going hard for something, but just like maintenance. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but that's just one thing that I see every day that is a little frustrating to me as a healthcare provider, is patients are like, well, I'm 300 pounds and I'm 5'5" and I have these cardiac arrhythmias and I can't, if we don't optimize their lifestyle factors like, weight loss and that kind of thing, like sometimes they can't even fit on the table for an ablation. And if we don't do that, we can't really fix the issues that they have going on. So for me, like I want to be able to offer patients more of the information that you guys give out and help them. Cause I know what is your main demographic of people that you help right now?
So we help women who come from a background of, yo-yo dieting or just feeling like they're doing everything right and not seeing progress. I don't think there's too many people who wake up one day, want to make a healthy lifestyle change and are like, let's get a one-on-one trainer. Like,
right.
Usually it's kind of like, all right, I've been through the ringer a little bit. I feel like I've kind of exhausted all my options, that it's like, okay, maybe I need some help to really help get me out of the extremes. But yeah, that's who we help. But in terms of experience levels, like we've definitely had people who have, had 80 plus pounds to lose. We've had people who have come to us and been like, okay, I lost a good amount of weight, but now I don't know what to do. Like it's really about uncovering those next steps to make it a lifestyle change instead of just a means to an end. So I like that you touched on the mindset side of things too, because that's really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. How old is your oldest patient, your oldest client?
Late 50s. I had one
Okay.
actually, who is in his 60s.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you guys do you offer anything for, I mean, I know you said a male, but like, do you do men at all or just kind of case by case?
We've had a couple men in the past. I think majority of our clientele are women just because that's who we market. That's who, the transformations we show and things like that. If a man wants to come, like, I'm more than happy to take them through a transformation. The only difference is they wouldn't be in the group chat. I want to keep that a safe space for, just women. Sometimes we talk about women things. But other than that, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So if someone was interested in the Fit Breakthrough or, the one-on-one coaching with you guys, what's the first step?
So the first step, if you're interested in the Fit Breakthrough, is we have our website, thefitbreakthrough.com, and we also have our Instagram pages. And I say that because if you're going to be a client of anybody, whether it's us, whether it's another coach, really being an educated consumer and making sure that you vibe with them is important, because if it's a coach who actually cares about you and your success, it's a collaboration, right? So you guys have to vibe. They have to be able to create a space where you can be vulnerable and work with you to make sure that, you're feeling good about it. So yeah, I would say whether it's with us or whether it's with anybody else, just kind of making sure that you're doing your research to make sure that that person has philosophies that you align with as well.
Absolutely. So then does everyone still have like a intro meeting with you? Is that?
Yep, absolutely. I talk to everybody who comes through our doors, who applies. So if anybody, wants to read about us, you can go to the website, and then an application will lead you to book a call with me, and we'll just chat more about your goals to make sure that you're a good fit and make sure that we're a good fit for you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And so if everybody is in agreement, then what happens?
Everybody is in agreement. Then what happens is we go to an onboarding call. So that is where we really break down short and long-term goals, and we really meet you where you're at. And that is the most important thing. And I think the biggest reason why a lot of people feel like they're doing everything right and not seeing progress is you try to cram your life into what you feel like the epitome of health is. And that's why I don't like those vague terms like let's eat healthy, because you can always eat, quote, healthier. Right. So there's always room for you to feel guilty about just living life, right? Like life is going to life. I don't think a lot of these perfect diets and meal plans take into account human behavior at all. You're going to have cravings. You're going to go on vacation. You're going to have a birthday cake around. Like if you don't know how to make that fit a part of your plan and you feel guilty every time XYZ happens, you're never going to gain enough momentum to really feel like you've adopted that lifestyle. You're always going to feel like you're just an imposter walking through the movements of being healthy until the other shoe drops. And so when I talk about our coaching philosophies and meeting you where you're at, that's really that first step is awareness, consistency, and strategy. That's the 3-step approach that we go through with our clients to make sure that we're focusing on habits, we're focusing on changes. And that's really what the first few weeks of the Fit Breakthrough are like, really uncovering your habits of what you're doing now and what you're eating and how you're training, and then making adjustments so that you feel good about getting the ball rolling without feeling like you're going 0 to 100.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember when we first talked, and I was like, I think if I have to track all my macros, that will just steal my joy. I was like, I don't want to do that. It sounds terrible. And then after like the first week, I was like, yeah, I need to know everything. I'm going to put this all down. And I actually enjoyed watching what was happening because I didn't feel like I was starving anymore. And I was like, how am I eating this much food and watching my weight just go whoop? I'm like, well, I thought I knew, but I didn't.
Yeah, I remember that conversation, and I was like, we're never gonna force the client to do anything. But yeah, you're like, I don't want that to steal my happiness. So I was like, is paleo like gonna be your plan forever? Because like, sure, but I don't think so.
No, and that was the awesome thing too, like watching Jenny like go through it and like see her living her best life. Like she's still going out with friends and she's still going out to nice dinners. And the fact that she's like a vegetarian and doing all of that, like meeting her protein goals, like I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, yeah. And so it was really nice because I think when we first started talking, it was kind of like you were like, well, what do you know and what do you want to do and where do you want to go? And so, we talked about that and I was like, I really don't want to like track everything. And you guys were like, yeah, it's okay. This is how we'll do it. We'll just look at this and this. And then I was like, no, I want to know more. I want to see how this is playing out. And then, we just adjusted over time. And I think when I first started, I was kind of like, oh, how's this going to work? And then like looking back after I was with you guys for almost a year and just seeing how the consistency and Evelyn making small, Evelyn was my coach, and just the little things that she did over time, like looking back now that I'm on my own, which I am just newly on my own, starting my own cut. And I'm like, oh, I'm scared. What do I do? And changing my like exercise routine a little bit. But the things that I learned and talked through with Evelyn every week have really set me up for this to be like consistent over time. So, and I think that's the most important thing that I learned is, and I'm so thankful to you guys for, stressing that it's a whole like lifestyle thing. It's not just like I'm focusing on the diet or I'm just focusing on the exercise. It's really like where I am today. Like there were times that I would tell Evelyn, like I got so frustrated because I wasn't seeing like vast improvement, like in my strength training. And I got to the point where I was just like, oh, I don't have to make huge strides every workout. Like it's okay to just work out. You did the work. It's building something. It's, you're not hurting yourself with that, So that was a big takeaway for me.
Well, I'm so happy that you feel that way. And I definitely agree. And I think when it comes to somebody like yourself who has a foundation around health and you're moving your body and you're already eating, whole foods and stuff before you came to us, this is what I see with a lot of women who tend to be high achievers in other areas of life, whether it's with work or school or whatever. We're always going to be our own worst critics. And so a coach can kind of help give you an objective view and kind of pull you off that ledge of like, okay, we're having a week where you feel this way or things aren't panning out how you want. Like, let's zoom out. Let's take a second and let's regroup. And then let's talk about, again, short and long-term goals and kind of where you're at now and how that's going to pay off in the future. And I think if we're on our own, it's very easy to pull ourselves into the extremes of like, oh, I don't like how things are happening this week. I need to do more. I need to eat less. And so you're very reactive. And I think that's the benefit of having a coach too, even if you know the basics, is like, we're always going to be our own worst critics. So having somebody kind of remind you of that so you don't get burnt out, so you don't yo-yo anymore, like that can be beneficial in those moments as well.
Yeah. And just being able to touch base and kind of talk about it and see it maybe from another perspective, because sometimes we get tunnel vision and we get stuck in like, oh, this is just like it was before,
Yeah, exactly.
So as far, we're kind of talking, I'm going on a roundabout way around things, but we're talking about more of like the mindset issue, but like, or the mindset strategy. What do you guys start with? I know because I've done it, but I want you to talk to it about how you start with like nutrition. Like what do you have people do at first?
Yeah, absolutely. So with nutrition, let's just say somebody has never tracked macros before or anything like that. Whenever we're telling a client to do something, it's always going to be backed with why. So like with you, when we're talking about tracking, it's like, hey, we're going to uncover what's in food because we want you to feel empowered with building meals. And we're not just going to give you a meal plan that you're going to follow during your time with us and then be like, I don't know what to do, right? So we want to give you the power to build your meals, to figure out what's in food and to enjoy what you're eating. And so what we usually do the first week is we just assess. We just assess, become aware of what you're currently eating. And we make tweaks based on, okay, what can we add? Because again, a lot of people come from a background of what can I restrict? And so kind of flipping the script and being like, okay, you're having cereal for breakfast. I'm not going to come in and tell you don't eat cereal. You have to make this souffle omelet thing. Like, no, we're going to say, okay, what is cereal? Carbs. What are we missing? We're missing fiber. We're missing protein. Here's why you need these things. Okay. They're going to keep you full. They're going to help with muscle protein synthesis, building muscle, all of that stuff. Great. That's what we can add to your day. And we're not going to tell you, oh, don't eat XYZ, but it's like thinking about and strategizing with a client of how we can make their meals just better, more satiating, and tell them how it contributes to their goals. That's really going to be week one. It's a lot more collaborative. And then from there, maybe we'll start with either a protein goal and a calorie range, or if they want to jump into tracking all three macros, protein, carbs, and fat, we can do that as well. But again, it's really with the mindset of meeting you where you're at and making the least amount of change that yields the biggest result. That's what the first few weeks look like.
Talk us through the different nutrition tracks, because I know people might not be familiar with what a reverse diet is or what maintenance is or what a cut is, or, can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when a lot of the time when a client comes to us, they have goals of building muscle and losing body fat. That is like 9 out of 10 times what we hear. Maybe it's a lot of, oh, I want to lose body fat first and then, quote, tone up. That's the other kind of coin that we hear a lot, the other term. So when we are moving past those first few steps of really uncovering what a client is eating, we're talking about, okay, let's set a protein goal and a calorie range based on the average of what, you're going to be eating in a day or what you already are eating in a day. And that is really so we have a baseline where we understand the inputs of what you're eating and the outputs of how your body is responding. Even if a client comes to us and says, I'm eating 1,500 calories a day. Maybe you're eating that 4 days a week, but then you're really overdoing it on the weekends. So this exercise of just having a goal that's consistent, that you can meet, that doesn't feel like a stretch, like it's not so low, it's not so high. It's just really based on average what you're eating in a day already. That is really going to give us the ability to understand not only the inputs and the outputs of how your body's responding weight-wise, but when we get consistent with food, suddenly you have better lifts because you have more consistent energy. Oh my gosh, our recovery is better. Oh my gosh, our sleep is better. I have more energy to move throughout the day. It's easier for me to hit a step goal. And that's where we kind of see things happen where either maybe this weight stays the same, but you look a little bit leaner because you lost some inflammation, better recovery. Maybe the weight actually went down because when we eliminated that overeating, undereating cycle, you're actually a little bit in a deficit. And we get to kind of see from there. And so to answer your question, from there, we can decide, okay, do we want to enter into what we call a reverse diet, which is essentially, working up your intake meticulously to around like a higher maintenance level. Like that's somebody who has been yo-yo dieting for a really long time. Maybe they start with us, they're actually eating like 1,400 calories a day and they want to lose weight. It's like, okay, we're going to have to work up your intake before we start a cut, because we are not starting a cut at 1,400 calories a day. Where are we going to go from there? So somebody like that will benefit a lot from reversing up their intake, focusing on strength training, just giving their body time to adapt and adjust to nourishment. That's not suddenly like stripping away calories and adding a bunch of cardio and then yo-yoing around. So just the mere consistency and ability to upregulate hormones, hunger and satiety cues are back, strength training, all of that really gives the client an appreciation for being consistent when the goal is not fat loss. And a lot of times we make positive, body composition changes, but also mindset changes as well during that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I can speak to that because I think that's what happened with me, where when I became consistent and Evelyn kept increasing my macros and I kept losing weight, I was like, how is this possible? And I think that speaks to the difference between focusing on calories and focusing on your macros. At least in my experience, I'd always been kind of like focused on the calorie portion. I'd never like really looked at like the macro difference. And then when we were doing like the protein, carbs, and fats, and that adjustment was being made, I really noticed a difference. And I think that that's that key element that a lot of us miss, because even when, I came into like a maintenance phase, which is, just where you maintain everything. And Evelyn, actually, I told her, I was like, I'm kind of getting burned out on the macro thing right now. I've been doing this for like 9 months, 10 months, and I just kind of don't want to track all the time. She's like, okay, well, let's focus on just protein. Keep getting your protein and then stay at around this calorie range. And I was like, okay. And it wasn't as hard for me because I had been doing it this whole time and I didn't have to think about it. But there were days that I could tell, like, yeah, something's may not feel like the greatest. Well, how much fat did you have yesterday? Or, and it's interesting to see how the different macro composition makes such a big difference in your energy level and in your ability to lose weight and in your ability to increase your strength. So that was just something that I learned and I would like be a champion for, because it made all the difference for me, I think.
Yeah, it really is so true, because if you're really focused on, let's take somebody who's only focusing on calories and is wanting to lose weight. Like maybe their initial reaction is, oh, I need to take away all my carbs, or I need to take away all my fats, or something like that. And then your cravings are going to be a lot higher. You're not going to have as much energy throughout your workouts. And especially as women, like, dietary fat helps hormonal health and nutrient absorption. That goes for everybody, but especially for women, like dietary fat is really important. And so having, all three macros kind of in check will help to make sure that your body's just getting what it needs to function. But also it can help with just having normal, like you said, energy levels, hunger and satiety cues, sleep. It's just kind of like your body likes consistency. Like you think of a circadian rhythm or something like that, that's just kind of feeding into your body's natural way of just wanting to know what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because this is the one thing about the nutrition aspect, that like you can live your life. Like if somebody brings in a treat or something, like, it doesn't have to be like rock solid. You have to know every single macro, but like we go through MyFitnessPal and we find something that's similar to that and I put it in. I can still work the rest of my day around it and I can still have that. Like you said, it's not like a restriction. It's like make it work for your life. Make sure you're getting where you want to go. And so if it's not exactly where it's supposed to be, also you didn't fail. It's just, okay, I did that. What do I do next? Instead of being like super focused on being perfect, which was a problem for me.
Yes. Well, same here. I mean, I think, to your point, macros can help you feel empowered about your decisions surrounding food, instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, I know cake is going to be there tonight, so I'm not going to eat the entire day, and then just having a fear around it. It's more of like empowerment of, okay, let me fit this into my day and move on with my life. It's not, you don't have that give as much power over you, I think, with that.
Yeah. And then knowing ahead of time, like, hey, I'm going on vacation, so this is what's going to happen. I just want to enjoy my vacation. And you can. Like, that's life.
Exactly. Yep. We talk a lot about that on the team as well, like having actions match expectations. Like if your expectation is just to have a jolly old time, awesome. Like do it. And then we'll get back and then you'll be excited because you have a routine that feels good to you when you get home. It's not going to be like, oh, time to start this diet when I get home and do all this cardio that I hate. It's like, no, this is my normal way of life that I enjoy, that I feel good doing, and I'm excited to get back to it.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about reverse dieting, and obviously we know what maintenance is, like just keeping us where we are and steady. So talk to me more about like what is a cut and how do we get ready for that, and what's the progress through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So cutting phase is where you are focused on losing body fat. It is where your intake is less than your expenditure. So with that being said, in order to get, quote, ready for a cut, I think the most important factor is you need to, number one, have a baseline, and number two, you need to have habits in place. I think a lot of people have never been consistent when the goal hasn't been fat loss. I think a lot of people, and myself included, before I kind of got into this, really only had two modes. It was like, mode one, I'm trying to lose weight as fast as possible for XYZ trip. Or number two, YOLO. Like, I'm not going to be consistent. I'm just going to do whatever. Like, hopefully they'll have a vegetable in there, but not really focused on anything. So when we have a baseline with nutrition and with food and with understanding how your body is responding to what you're currently eating, then we know what a deficit is, right? So if we reverse dieted them up, or if they just happen to be maintaining their weight at like 2,000 calories a day, okay, we know that that's around your maintenance. So we can start to go from there. So we can either, lower food and or raise cardio, right? So that is, I think, a missing piece is people just expect themselves to develop all of these habits, understand how to eat healthy, understand what a deficit even is without really tracking their intake. Because something that I see happen a lot is maybe you cut out certain food sources in order to lose weight. Maybe that gets you into a deficit. Maybe that doesn't. Like, if you don't know how much you're eating, the caloric value of the foods that you're eating, and you don't know what a deficit is going to look like for you, then it's really a game of hit or miss. And it's very easy to fall into the mindset of these foods are bad, right? Or I need to cut out more of them, or I need to stop going out to eat altogether. And then you're just in this, living this life that you don't even enjoy. And then it's like, okay, well, is this even worth it? And then you start to talk yourself out of it. Then you gain the weight back and then some. So a cutting phase is really, it's just that. It's a phase. There's a start and there's an end to it, but it's with the goal of, losing body fat.
Right. And I think that's with the coaching, that was one of the things is like we have weekly check-ins with the coach, and there's a lot of great questions in there. Like, how were your hunger levels? And as you're going through the cut, like, everything is kind of titrated and personalized to you, and you figure that out. Like, that was the nice thing. Like, how hungry were you? And then when you get to this point where like you can balance that, you weren't too hungry and you didn't feel like you were starving. And because I think those things are what like lead people to quit or to not be consistent anymore and just give up.
And then after the cut is over, if you don't have a game plan for what's going to happen after the cut is over, then you're not even going to want to be consistent, because in the back of your head, it's a means to an end. Right. So I think that's another benefit of having a coach is we are like, okay, we're losing the weight, but then how are we going to keep it off and reverse diet you out? Because you're not going to be eating low calorie forever. Like, we want you to continue to progress and continue to get to a place where you're just maintaining a leaner physique, a stronger physique, eating more food and feeling good about that.
And on our way out of talking about nutrition, because I do want to get into like strength training and cardio and that kind of thing. For someone that has a lot of weight to lose, or like me, I've done one cut and I still have, things I want to do. I'm starting another one on my own. You don't want to be in a deficit all the time, right? Like, even if you have a lot, like I still have stuff I want to do. Like, I still want to lose fat, but I don't want to stay in a deficit, correct?
Yep. A deficit is a phase. It's not a forever thing.
Right. Okay. Good. That's what we were doing. But I wanted people to know that like, it's not something you have to be in forever. It's kind of that's why it's really good to have a coach as you go through it, to learn these consistent habits and to go through that, and then maybe come back up to maintenance for a little while and regroup. Maybe not be as hungry all the time, work on strength, and then go back into it when you're ready and solid, right?
Yep. And I can even give a client example of that. I had a client who lost 60 pounds total, but it wasn't just like, oh, let's enter a cut and we lost 60 pounds in like 4 months. No, we first set her up with what I was talking about with awareness, consistency. She was already eating a solid amount of food on average and maintaining. It was about like 2,200 calories a day. Awesome. So we got her into a deficit. We were able to lose 30 pounds the first cut, but then we reversed out of it, and she maintains like 25, 30 pounds of fat loss. And we worked her food back up to like 1,800 to 2,000 at the holidays. And then in the new year, and kind of in February timeframe, we started another cut. So we started her second, cut from a lower intake. And she did have more body fat to lose, right? But just because you're not at your end goal doesn't mean that you have to continue to just eat less and less and less, because there is going to come a point where you're mentally burnt out, where your energy is depleted, where you no longer enjoy the gym. And you have to listen to that, right? You have to listen to that. Like, human behavior is a component of your lifestyle. So pulling out of that and then going back in when she felt ready and when it made sense for her lifestyle again and her schedule. That is ultimately how we continue to progress with that. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And that's a good thing, because I think I think that's one of the mindsets that's just prevalent out there, is that to lose weight, you just have to keep going. You have to keep restricting yourself. And that's not how it's going to work if you want it to be a long-term life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So we've kind of talked about nutrition and the different ways that you guys help with that. And I do want to also mention that you guys have there's a group chat that you can talk to people about. And you also give us resources, right? Like different recipe ideas and ways to build things. Can you talk more on that?
Yeah. So we have the client resource database, which our clients get forever access to, and anything that we add to it. And that's just a hub for, yes, meal ideas and things like that. But there's also a training folder that talks about, how to breathe and, different training accessories and things like that. And then a lifestyle folder. So that is where, okay, we have clients who work night shifts. How do they handle nutrition with that? We have clients who have to buy groceries for a family and all their family members are picky eaters. Okay, how do we do that without having you eat a separate dinner every night from your family, right? So very much like real life situations that happen, and then videos as well, breaking down more things scientifically or just questions that come up a lot with clients.
Yeah, and those are all very useful, and I have been in them and trying to see. I like the examples of like what people are eating for different meals, because there's been a couple different things that I've used that are like staples for me now, like especially when I need something quick.
That's the biggest thing. It's all about quick. It's like, how do I do this? I don't have time to preheat my oven. I need a meal.
Exactly. And like you said, you have night shift clients, and you do have a lot of nurses, don't you?
Yep. So a lot of people who don't have like actual lunch breaks.
Right.
Like, how do I get them food? So that's a fun challenge.
Absolutely. So when it comes to exercise, what is your philosophy on that? How do you guys do exercise at the Fit Breakthrough?
Yeah. So I mentioned it earlier, but we are all about the form of movement that you enjoy. However, I think a lot of the people that we attract and who honestly want to get the most out of coaching that they can, there is an element of strength training, and strength training benefits everybody. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Especially women. As we get older, strength training helps you lose body fat, because if you have more muscle in your frame, it makes fat loss easier. It also helps with hormonal health, bone density, joints, everything down to like posture. It helps, right? So these are things that we might not associate strength training with, because you might think, oh, strength training is something I do when I want to build muscle when I'm already lean. And that's kind of what I see a lot is, I don't need to worry about, quote, toning yet because I need to lose body fat. It's like, no, we can incorporate that to actually help your overall goal of looking leaner, and it's going to help you with the fat loss process as well. I think a lot of people think it's a waste of time, because right now they just are hyper focused on burning as many calories as possible. And yeah, there's a time and place for cardio as well, but strength training is really what we do and what I'm passionate about, because it changed my physique, and it also just so many benefits for mental health too.
Yeah, I read that I just read an article, and I don't remember much about it, but I was just like, yeah, strength training. But it was like talking about how strength training actually changes the composition of your fat cells, and it helps you be able to lose fat faster. And so I will find that and link that somewhere in the show notes. But yeah, it was exciting. Like, yeah, I love strength training, and I love the different exercises that I've learned just with you guys, because I had a background of at least Olympic weight training and a little bit of CrossFit and stuff like that. And just like, I just changed my split, and Evelyn had put like some B stance goblet squats, and I'm like, I missed those. She took them away from me. I put them back in this time.
I love it.
But yeah, like, what is your usual recommendation for the amount of strength training per week?
So when it comes to strength training, this is another one of those, you got to meet yourself where you're at, right? If I have somebody who doesn't have a lot of healthy habits in place, never really moves, they don't need to do 4 days a week in the gym, right? The amount of benefit you get from 0 days a week in the gym to 1 day a week in the gym is so much greater than 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I would much rather have somebody go 0 to 1 genuinely. But a lot of the time with, again, the women who join our team, it's 3 to 4. If you are going 4 days a week to the gym, maybe it's like 2 lower body days and then a push day, which for those who don't know, that's like shoulders, chest, and triceps. And then a pull day, which is back and biceps. That's a good amount of volume. Like that's what I do. Okay. From 3 days a week to 4 days a week, you do get more benefit in terms of volume. From 4 days a week to 5 days a week, not as much. There's probably a little bit more benefit you get, but if it is not feasible with your schedule, I don't want you to worry about getting in that 5th day. But yeah, for most of our clients, it's 3 to 4 days a week.
Okay. Yeah. And now what are your recommendations for like cardio?
So cardio, my favorite form of cardio is steps because it is accessible. You don't need a lot of equipment at all. And when it comes to people who have a lot of like joint pain, maybe incline walking or Stairmaster isn't something that's going to be beneficial to them. Like it'll hurt and we got to work up their joints. Walking is really going to be the best. I mean, that's honestly all that I do today. Walking, I know a lot of people say like, 10,000 steps a day. You don't have to do that. Again, meet yourself where you're at. If you're somebody who has 2,000 steps a day, you look at your phone and you see it says 2,000, aim for 3,000, aim for 4, right? Work your way up to a place where you feel like, okay, I'm feeling really good. I got outside. Vitamin D is beneficial. That's another reason why I like walking. Walking after meals can help with digestion, can help with recovery, can help you wind down, go to sleep. Like all of these things are very beneficial. So I'm a big walking fan.
Awesome. Yeah. I actually had a conversation with a client today or not today. I actually had a conversation with a patient this week, and she was saying how they had been walking, but like joint pain issues and things like that. And they were like, oh, I only did this much. I'm like, okay, we'll just take a couple more steps this time. And I said, every little bit that you do is building on to something else so you can keep going. So that whole mindset, like you're like, you can't do 10,000 steps, but you did 2,000 steps. We'll do 3,000 steps now and just keep building on it. And that's kind of how strength training works. Like, okay, today was bench press day for me, and I have been stuck at like 100 pounds. Like I can't get out of there. Like when I was just trying for like my 1 rep max, like I got a little bit higher, but like when I'm doing like 642 or 10 or whatever, like I am stuck. And I think part of it is my mind because I'm afraid of, sometimes I'm benching by myself. So like, I don't want to drop it on me. But then I'm like, well, it doesn't matter if I'm still at the same weight. I'm pushing, I'm doing it, I'm doing the work. So it is benefiting me, even if I can't increase it or improve it every time. Just doing it is strengthening me, even if I'm not seeing like huge changes. And so I love that you keep saying we're meeting people where they are. Because that's the most important thing. Like this needs to be something that is sustainable over time and really helps I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's really something that should be sustainable over time. And I love that that is the focus of what the Fit Breakthrough does. And I think it would be very helpful to like my patient population. And I wish that in healthcare, there was more emphasis on something like this.
Yeah. That seems to be the consensus from a lot of women who are in the healthcare world. I'm just happy that, more of this is getting out there in the world of just kind of understanding what the lifestyle can really look like and meeting yourself where you're at and focusing on these changes that aren't going 0 to 100 with a crazy diet or something like that.
Right. Because the changes that you make in not only mindset, but in just your body composition. Like with me, I came in with some of that already, but adding the consistent strength training to my cycling helped me to start being able to run more and just everything else that I do in life seems a little bit easier and better. And just all around, it's done that for me. And the fact that like I can feel a muscle now, like I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, holy cow! Like, that's amazing. And I think that it's a disservice to people to think that that is not accessible to them, because it truly is. Because when I started with you, you asked like what I had available for me. Can I go to the gym? Like, some people can't afford that. What do I have at home? What can I use at home? And you guys really worked with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it really goes back to, just because you can't do things 100% optimally doesn't mean you can't start to make these changes. And another benefit of just meeting yourself where you're at, we have been saying that a lot, but a benefit of doing that too is you start to build momentum and belief in yourself that you can be consistent. Because I think there's a lot of people who are listening to us right now and they're thinking, well, I've never been consistent with anything in the past, so what makes you think I'm capable of such a large lifestyle change? And you're exactly right. And I think that's why a lot of people go to these crazy diets, because they know it's a means to an end. So they're like, well, I might as well just shove as much progress as I can into these 30 days because I know I'm not going to be able to keep this up. And it's like, well, what if we start small? And what if we start and do things that are enjoyable to you instead of just eating foods you hate, working out, going 0 to 100, and now you're feeling resentful towards the process and then you quit. That's part of it too. It's not because, let's make progress take longer. Absolutely not. If we can get away with doing less, awesome. Well, let's do it. Let's ride that wave. And then you'll feel more comfortable adjusting and adding more because you have a track record of proving to yourself that you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really what it's about. And it's your life. So you have to live in it, and you should be able to do it comfortably and healthy. And I think all of these little steps, like, just knowing where you are. I think that was the most important thing at the beginning of my journey with the Fit Breakthrough, was knowing, what is my sleep schedule? Where am I? Not judging it, just where am I? What, for a 1 week, how much sleep did I get every day? How many steps am I taking? What am I doing in the gym? What am I eating? What are my macros? How does that add up? No, don't change anything. Just look at what you are doing. And then say, how do I make little changes over time that I can be consistent with? And like, yeah, I got the pleasure of meeting you on my family vacation this year when we came down there. And I did not track anything really. I was like making sure I have my protein, but I enjoyed everything around me and went on a run and hung out with my kids, and it did not derail my progress. So that's the beauty of this. So it brings me to another question for everyone that's listening. If they are interested in something like this, of course they can look at the Fit Breakthrough and have a chat with you. But what are you looking for in like one-on-one coaching or a nutrition or strength plan?
If you are looking to change your lifestyle, I think a really big part of getting help with that is having somebody who is not a my way or the highway approach. We all have different schedules. We all have different living situations. How we coach a student is going to be very different than a working mom of 4, right? It's going to look very different than somebody who works an overnight shift. And so I think asking those questions and being somebody who is willing to ask those questions as a client is really important, because you need to make sure that you jive with that person, like I was talking about earlier. But I would say communication and accountability is really important. I would say somebody who is tackling not only the nutrition, but also going in depth with you of, okay, how are we going to actually hit these goals, right? We don't just tell people, here are your macros, good luck. It's like, no, let's talk about day by day. Like, what does your schedule look like? What are you currently eating? What does this mean for the meals you need to bring to work? What are some meals you can bring to work? Really going into the depths of not just what are your goals, but how are we going to help you meet them on a day-to-day? And then really panning out, okay, why are the goals you're doing now and the protocols now, how are they going to benefit you later on? Why are you doing what you're doing? right? It's not because I said so. It's because, hey, here's actually what's going on, and here's metabolically what we're trying to do. Here's where it's going to lead you, and here's how it's benefiting your overall health and where you want to go physically. That can be really empowering because you're not just going to do something because I said so. You need to know the why and believe it yourself.
Okay. And so when people are out there looking for something like this, where do you think would be a good place to start, or where do you find, like, where did you find your coach?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say social media because I think a lot of people think it's just like, oh, influencer central, but truly I've been in the fitness, Instagram, TikTok, podcast realm for a while, and I've seen it evolve, and it is really, you get a lot of bad stuff too in terms of just like people selling quick fixes. Like, that's still there, of course, but I think Instagram specifically has matured a lot, where you do have a lot of coaches like myself who have content surrounding the education side of things and the nutrition and training side of things. And I think that if you're looking that up on either Instagram or just your regular web browser, I think looking at and typing in, one-on-one coach, if that's something you really want, if it's really personalized, that's going to be a keyword. And that can lead you down a rabbit hole of just finding people and really looking at their content. Because, content at the surface level, there's going to be a little bit like, link up my bio for coaching. But at the end of the day, you need to know how this person talks, how they carry themselves, how they talk about their business, how they talk about their clients, and making sure that they're in it for the right reasons and making sure that it's truly the type of coaching that you want.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I've experienced that like just being on Instagram and following some different creators that I'm like, oh, this isn't right. Or like, wow, this person has got it. Like this is in alignment with the holistic approach that I want to take. So
yeah, love it.
Of course, I will link the Fit Breakthrough to this, and Evelyn and Coach Laura and your Instagrams, but you also have a podcast, right?
I do. It's called Gym Ramble. This is actually inspiring me to get back on it. I took a little hiatus. I feel like I had a list of topics and I burned through them all. And then I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's called Gym Ramble. It's on Apple or Spotify, and it's a good time.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, we will definitely share that. I just hope that this episode will empower people, because that is what I'm trying to reach. Every one of us touches healthcare. We are patients. We have family members or loved ones that are patients, and weight loss and strength training and those kinds of things can be very frustrating. And there's a way to make it easier. And I think that is the beauty of what you do. And you've changed my life. I know you've changed my cousin's life. My daughter was with you guys for a little while, and I got to see how it worked for all three of us, and we're all different. I mean, Jenny and I are both nurses, but my daughter Nineveh, she is 20 years old, and it was a different experience for her. And it really, like, to see her now on her own, like still like in the gym and tracking, and like, her progress is slower, but she is doing it and it's consistent and it's working for her. And I love that. And I just want to honestly, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is just like why we created this, and we love what we do. And I'm so happy that we get to connect with women like you guys, because you guys are amazing and building these connections, and you guys are, friends now, not just clients. And that's just so, so wonderful. So
as we're wrapping up this episode, I do want to say that one-on-one coaching might be expensive to some people, but it is an investment. And it is an investment that after I saw my cousin's great results, I decided, I want to do this for me. I want to invest in myself. And I did. But our time together is already over. It's not something people do forever, right?
Yes, exactly. So a good coach is going to make sure that you don't need them forever, because it goes back to really understanding and teaching you why we're doing what we're doing, and giving you the tools so that you can make your own meals and feel good about it. And, we like to leave our clients and have them graduate and be on their way. So it's so wonderful when we have clients like you, but also like a year plus down the road, people will pop back in to message us with like progress photos and be like, look, I'm still continuing to see progress. I love it. And it just warms my heart because that's why, that's why we do what we do. So yes, absolutely right.
Yeah. And it's great because like I still send my coach Evelyn funny like Instagram stuff and we talk, and I don't feel like I'm ever like abandoned. Like if I really had a question, I'd be like, hey, what do you think? And like you said, I have the client resource database to go back to and kind of look through and kind of tweak what I want to do. But also your clients can come back also. Like if, let's say someone's going to get married, like, oh crap, I really want to get toned for this. Or like, I just need to like maybe lose a little bit of weight or I have this event coming up or something, we can always jump back in and.
Yeah. Goals change, lifestyle changes. And I just had a client this morning, or a client from 2022 come back today, and it wasn't because there was anything wrong or, she didn't know how to continue, but she, sometimes we just like that accountability, and sometimes we're in a busy season of life and we can't look at our own data objectively, and we just want to offhand it to someone else and be like, all right, tackle this for me. Tell me what to do. I'm feeling good about getting that type of accountability again. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can see that being beneficial because I know I'm going to be like, all right, I've been doing this for a long time. Can you just like walk through it with me one more time?
We'll be here.
Well, Alicia, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with me today and chatting through all of this.
Yes, thank you for having me. It was so fun.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of In the Loop with Nadja Vlasiuk. I hope you found today's discussion insightful and empowering. Feel like diving deeper into the topics presented today? Be sure to check out the show notes for references and more helpful information. You can also visit our Substack or Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Remember to stay curious and stay informed. Now you're in the loop.